let's go ahead and jump right in. Got a good one for you today. So basically, this is our agenda. I will be introducing you to what a digital twin is, if you're not familiar with that. If you have not been to one of our webinars before, it's not something that's, I think, very widely used in travel and hospitality yet. I mean, Bill can enlighten us about that, but it can definitely be very helpful. So we'll talk about what that is. And then I'll hand it off to Bill, who will speak about how a digital twin can actually help you increase bookings and optimize efficiencies. So what is a digital twin? Again, a term that you may not be familiar with. It is essentially just a digital duplicate of your physical space of an office building, of your hotel room, of your home, any kind of space where you live, work, play, all that stuff. That's the sort of digital twin that Matterport helps you create very, very easily. And you can do a lot of things once you index and digitize that space, a lot more than just promoting the space and allowing people to kind of move through it virtually and getting to better understand it. Certainly a lot better than 2D images. But there's actually a lot of information in that data that you can collect and track and all sorts of things and communicate via the digital twin, with your physical space and vice versa. So it's very, very powerful. And that's basically what a digital twin is. It's kind of in the name. All right, Bill, thank you very much for being here today and helping us out and telling us how a digital twin can help with T&H.
If I could, I just want to take a quick step back and
by all means
reintroduce myself. I've got a 30-year career in travel and hospitality, mostly around strategy for brands, working with Starwood, IHG, Red Lion Hotels, Charisma Hotels. And, in all those roles, and I think the same holds true today, there's really two overarching functions for everybody in travel and hospitality. First is to drive top line revenues, and that's through marketing and sales. And then the other is to increase productivity while reducing expenses, and that's through improving operations, right? So whatever we can do to streamline operations increases our service element for our guests and increases our profitability and overall margins for the property, be it a restaurant or a hotel. In marketing and sales, it's really about aligning your product to the right guests. And when you think about digital twins as it applies to sales and marketing and operations, it really fits well. Because for sales and marketing, it allows guests to check you out before checking in. It's the ultimate in personalization. We've all been through utilizing photography to tell a story and to really paint the picture as to what the product is all about. Well, digital twins really multiply that by allowing a personalization for the consumer to actually navigate through the photography themselves. And it's not just pictures, but actually walking through the digital twin or the space. When you start thinking about that in sales, that can be applied to things such as virtual site inspections. Right now, site inspections on a per booking basis are way down compared to pre-COVID days. And that's because booking or event planners are traveling less and they're narrowing their options further virtually. So using virtual site inspections help. It also helps in planning the event itself. So can you imagine actually being able to respond to an RFP with a virtual site inspection that says, let us walk you through your space that we're proposing. And then should your property be selected, you can also use it for virtual planning, such as creating the library or the decorations or what have you for the event. In operations, every property goes through capital expenditures and projects and PIPs and so forth, or product improvement plans. And all of these projects require an extensive amount of travel for different teams to get together, review the project. Let's say it's installing a barista in a lobby. They review that together, and then they go about that project plan. Well, with the use of a digital twin, you can actually do all of that virtually together online and save a lot of time as well as expense. And we're going to walk you through how some clients have actually done that. So why don't we go ahead and advance to the next slide. You know, when we start thinking about some solutions in sales, one of the things that I had mentioned is in sales, actually using augmented reality to plan or showcase a property for an RFP. You know, Linder Hotels, a German-based hotel chain, utilizes all seated, as well as they utilize Matterport for all of their properties on both a sales as well as a consumer basis. On the consumer basis, if you look at any of the hotels online, you will see the virtual tours. And again, as I mentioned earlier, it really allows for total personalization for you to see the depth of what the guest rooms are like, for you to see what the lobby is like or the amenities and so forth. In the sales arena, they use it so that they can stage the event and propose that with the RFP for the event planners themselves. And I think you're going to be able to see how this actually works for all of their properties. Let's take a look at the video.
So in the video, it looks like they've embedded this into their website where you can choose the different properties around the world and virtually visit each one.
You know, last week I was with a global account that has about 8,000 properties around the world. And one of the questions that they asked was, is it possible for us to make certain that when someone is looking at a digital twin of a property, it doesn't look homogenized to all brands? How do we make certain that they're looking at our brands and not someone else's brands? And you know, one of the things that I thought of is it's really on the application. As you can see here within Linder Hotels, one of the things that they did is in the actual navigation, they've built it out from, you can see the initial navigation, and they narrow it down a little bit further. One of the other things that could be done is you can actually look at the skin and the framing and so forth, and really have other levels of personalization, just as you would on other brand or branding initiatives, so that it really makes it your experience all the way through, just like you do on photography. Top right-hand corner, you might have a logo of one particular brand versus other brands and so forth. This does allow for you to have different types of branding built into it as well. If we move on a little bit further, I think we will see the video on Linder. Is that correct?
So here we're just seeing how you can use some of the tools that Matterport provides in, you know, communicating with not only clients, I suppose, but also with caterers in that particular event, you know, different people who need to use the space for whatever reason. We heard from one guest who uses Matterport to shoot event centers, for weddings, wedding event venues, and like the DJ who needs to know if their equipment can come in through a door, can take measurements and things like that. So
one of the things you may notice is these different dots. We call them matter tags. And what a matter tag does is it allows for more perpetual merchandising. So unlike static photography, you can have additional merchandising built into a virtual tour. So here you see there's a picture. You can see more information about the picture itself, or you see that there's dots where you can place a video or other social media, and you can start including different sharing and so forth. It allows you to actually make the entire experience more engaging and immersive. So much so that there's a company that specializes in short-term rentals. It's called Vacasa. And Vacasa has seen, based off of two different survey results, when they started utilizing Matterport to augment their photography, but with actual virtual tours for their consumers, they saw a 12 to 14% lift in conversion from reviewing a tour to actually booking. So again, high personalization that allows consumers to check it out before they actually check in. But what else was interesting is on both of these surveys, which incidentally, currently they're at about 85% of their rental units utilize Matterport digital twins. They found that compared to those that do not, the Matterport digital twins provide a 3 times online engagement. So consumers are actually using this to become familiar with the product and really start to build that trust relationship or move on and find something else that they want to have. It also extends a little bit further in sales and planning. As you could see, you can actually take actual measurements and have more detailed planning and so forth. But let's go ahead and move on, and you'll hear a little bit more about the results with Vacasa.
Vacasa is North America's top vacation rental management platform. We operate in over 400 of the most sought after vacation destinations, North America, Belize, Costa Rica, and really just bring exceptional vacation experiences to our guests. Vacation is a huge investment, and we wanted to ensure the guest has all the data and as much information as we could possibly provide. Still photography can only get them so far, and with Matterport, they can understand exactly what they're booking and then start planning their trip accordingly. Matterport makes it possible by showcasing the layout and the details, the entire property inside and out, so guests feel more familiar with the property prior to booking and even as they're planning their trip. Another challenge that Matterport helped us solve was actually servicing guests while they are in our homes. Our CX agents are able to see the home, and when the guest is referencing something within the home, we can better understand what it is they're referencing to really troubleshoot whatever issue the guest is having. Today, 89% of Vacasa property listings on Vacasa.com feature a Matterport digital twin. We see nearly 3 times the average session duration on homes that have the Matterport 3D Showcase. We also see nearly an 8% increase in guest NPS on reservations where the guest viewed Matterport before booking the home. I'm actually very excited to continue to see Matterport invest in their technology. I think from here, it gets even more interesting.
That was really interesting. Actually, just wanted to point something out real quick. The 8% increase in NPS, I think, obviously has a lot to do with better understanding the place, right, before going there, and so you're kind of setting expectations properly.
Absolutely. I mean, again, you're checking it out before you actually check in.
Yeah.
So your expectations are going to be fulfilled, as opposed to, gee, what am I going to get? And, when you really look at short-term rentals behave a lot like residential real estate. And residential real estate is a large market for Matterport. When you start to extend that into travel and hospitality, I think a surefire win is short-term rentals. But it extends even further into other sorts of rentals as well, such as hotels. It's just about how you manage it. We're working with a large platform company right now that's doing over 500 properties on a test, comparing actual hotels to short-term rentals and how the behaviors are a little bit different. And what they're doing is on the hotels, they're breaking up the dollhouse so that it's just showing the guest room, be it a king room or a double room. And you're seeing just that, as opposed to in a short-term rental, you're seeing the entire unit. So they're mirroring the booking path, if you that's the term, and it's winning the same sort of conversions. In fact, actually a little bit higher, about 18% conversion when it mirrors the actual booking path. So that's on sales and marketing. When you really think about it, consumers want to build trust in their purchasing decision. And there's nothing more personal than really navigating through a space from their mind to their fingertips on seeing what it is they're looking for. If they're traveling as a multi-generational family, they're wondering, where's grandma going to stay versus baby? They get to see all of that. In sales, people really want to be able to see what the entire group is going to experience. What is the people patterns, and how is the planning going to be like? Now let's move on to operations. In operations, it's a little bit different. This is about bringing teams together and bringing them together to collaborate without actually having to have them travel and coordinate all of that travel just for a single project. It's also about compliance. Every single brand needs to comply to certain standards, be the standards, government imposed standards such as health standards, but also the brand standards, so that the brand promise of whatever the consumer promises are consistently met. Well, those things are audited over and over again. And every time that they're audited, the general process is reviewing that audit, taking a lot of pictures, writing up a report, making recommendations, and then negotiating that to have fixes or trigger dates to have them re-audited in the future time frame. Bring in a digital twin. All of that can be done remotely, and the teams can work together on that compliance issue. It can also work together for, let's say, operations, maintaining how one operation should be operating the exact same way as, let's say, another one. So benchmarking best practices. And then lastly, digital twins also allow for different capital expenditures to be managed remotely without people having to constantly go back and forth and coordinate schedules. Domino's Pizza has a very large franchise operator called RPM. And one of the things that RPM has done is they've actually conducted a digital twin of all of their stores. This way here, they can actually see how all of their stores are operating against benchmarking best practices, and they can manage new projects and CapEx projects right from those digital twins. Let's go ahead and take a peek at a video here
I'm the facilities manager for RPM Pizza, which is the largest franchise of Domino's. RPM Pizza just celebrated their 40th year in business. Some of these stores are 40 years old or close to 40 years old. But we decided as a company to revision the space in the production area. It was 30 stores that had to be done within 6 months. And from my previous work with Matterport, I knew that once I had the scan, I would have a floor plan of the building. We wanted to keep the budget low, so using the measurement tool, I was able to make sure that existing fixtures and equipment would fit in the space. For example, if I bought a 3-comb sink 20 years ago, it's not the same dimensions as a 3-comb sink currently. It's different dimensions or different brands. So being able to measure the fixtures and the equipment currently in the store ensured that we didn't have a mistake or balloon our budget. So I would say that using Matterport helped move our projects quicker. I would say it's about 30% faster.
Isn't that fantastic? You know, we've got another large coffee chain that was looking to redo all of their drive-throughs, and instead of sending someone to all of their storefronts, they were able to actually use Matterport scans to see what their storefronts look like, and then make determinations as to what equipment is necessary to be purchased and how that would be installed for each one of their stores, just to put in a new window or drive-through window. These are a couple of major examples that digital twins really saves in operations by bringing teams together and utilizing dimensionally accurate measurements. And like I said, bringing the teams together to really collaborate on these projects. So how do you get started? You know, one of the things that we've done at Matterport is we've really built out 3 different types of systems. In the middle is our professional camera that really operates on its own, and it pairs with a tablet device and a computer, of course. And then it sends or uploads the scan to our platform and downloads it so that you can start manipulating and adding matter tags and using it for various configurations and so forth. This is something that you could do on your own. Most companies within travel and hospitality are not exercising this particular method whereby they're buying a camera and utilizing it and so forth. Instead, they prefer to hire a professional, which we have a network of professionals that we call capture services. We can set up a separate website for any type of a company whereby they can have a login and can request capture services come by and conduct a overall capture of whatever it is that they would like captured, and then it gets uploaded, downloaded, and it can be used. Another thing is on the far left, launched earlier this year, is Matterport for mobile, and it's called Access. Access is that device on the left that actually holds your phone, and you can place your phone in the device that also screws into a tripod, and you place the tripod in the room and it will automatically use your phone device to conduct the scan. Now, I would not recommend Access for a consumer-facing scan, such as the promotional marketing materials and so forth. You want something that's more professional quality. such as capture services or the actual Pro 2 camera in the middle picture here. But for operational scans, this works very, very well on utilizing the access device, such as RPM. Or like I said, you can also use CAP services, and they can send someone out to all your stores, capture the whole store, and then you've got a file of all of that information.
That's great. Thanks, Bill. That was super informative, and I hope everybody got something out of that. And that's it. We're ready for all the questions. I do see one question in there. So if you do have questions, please go ahead and submit, but let's go ahead and tackle this one. I'm just going to go ahead and stop sharing. This question is about the, putting a link in short-term rentals, right? Something like Airbnb or Vrbo and all those. If an OTA does not provide a Matterport posting, I think they're talking about like a specific field for like a 3D virtual tour or 3D model, digital twin. Can the Matterport link on my Matterport account be connected to a URL link that I can put in the script description of the rental property? So I think they're just talking about the share link for the virtual tour, and just put that into the description field. And I'm pretty sure that has to do with the platform, whether it's Airbnb and what they do to support that. What's your experience there?
My experience is, first off, the link works wherever you put the link. You can use that in performance marketing, such as email marketing, or your communications with potential clients back and forth. If the platform, be it Airbnb or Expedia, is not permitting that, then you run the risk of that actually being scrubbed out if it gets caught. But I can tell you all of the platforms are now looking at how can they start to reintroduce rich media. Rich media is anything that goes beyond photography. Most platforms pared back to just photography because they really wanted to get a handle on photography and the accessibility requirements around photography. And as they address the accessibility requirements, they're now looking at how can they address accessibility and control around rich media. And Matterport falls into that rich media category. And we do comply with accessibility. And as they start to involve that, you'll start seeing us be there as well. But the link will always work wherever you have the link, as long as it's permissible.
Okay, Paul asks, can you lock or password protect a Matter tag? So Matter tags by design are there, to provide more information for your viewers. So they can't really be password protected. You can hide them. You can create Matter tags and then choose to hide them without actually getting rid of them. That allows basically people, collaborators that you have invited to be a part of your account in Matterport, they can view them. I would probably just use something called Notes for that instead, because that's internal, means of collaborating with team members rather than Matter tags. But yeah, I can't think of anything that's interesting. I have not run across that.
But Amir, it makes me think of something I perhaps should have explained it a little bit earlier. In a promotional setting, such as marketing for growing top line revenues, those digital twins are public facing scans. And there you want the Matter tags to be perpetual merchandising, right? In the case of RPM or operational use cases, those you do not want to be public facing scans. So they would be tagged as or labeled as private scans. They will not be searchable. and no one would be able to access it without your password protections and actual app to get into Matterport. So if you're using Matterport digital twins for an operate use case, it will be a closed environment.
Yes, you can password protect the entire model itself, right? The entire digital twin, or like you said, you can just keep it private, which only allows team members, basically anyone with collaborator access to your account, to be able to see the whole model altogether, and of course, thereby only they can see the matter tags. But that's a really interesting use case, Paul. If you are wondering about a more promote use case and password protecting, I'd be really interested to hear that use case and what's behind that. Can Matterport set URL shortener so links take up less text space? Yeah, we included a URL shortener actually. So there's this thing, the URL for the showcase by itself, just to be able to kind of copy that link and provide that, is pretty short. It's maybe not as short as like a bit.ly short URL, but you can always take that into a URL shortener and get that done. Then there's also this thing where it's like a deep link is what we call it, and that allows you to share a link that is very to a very specific point in the model itself. So if you're looking at something and you want to share that with somebody else, as you're looking at it in the showcase, you just press the letter U on your keyboard and that pops up a link that has a little checkbox that by default it is checked to provide you with the short URL, but those historically have been very, very long. So we did provide that for you. Alex asked, do I need a website? No, you don't really need a website. You just, it just kind of depends on what you're doing, right? I mean, we don't provide you with a landing page. We provide you with access to your digital twin that you can create virtual tours out of that and do all sorts of things, depending on whether you're, promote or facility management and that, operations, or both. And so with that link, you can actually embed that. You can have a, like an iframe embed code that we also provide you and put that into your landing page if it is a promote use case, if you do have your own website. But we don't provide you with a landing page per se, just a link. That's really all you need. You just share that link any way you want to share a link. And when that's clicked, the whole showcase comes up. You don't need a landing page. Chris asks, this is a great question, actually. Best way to reach out to these hotels? Any Matterport supported handouts to share? How would you recommend, with having so much experience in the industry, Bill, how would somebody reach out to somebody like you, right, in these corporations to see if they want a Matterport digital twin and, so as a Matterport service provider, to be able to provide that for them?
Sure. We do have salespeople around the globe. And if you reach out to me, I can put you in touch with any of them. And if you're looking for testimonials, or if you wanted to talk to existing hotels or clients, we can also put you in touch with them as well. My email is b.linehan@matterport.com. And like I said, we've got white papers, we've got ebooks, digital brochures, everything. And I can also put you in touch with the mid-market or enterprise salespeople, or like I said, some of our clients directly.
Oh, cool. And what if a Matterport service provider wanted to, reach out to, I don't know, Hilton hotels? How do they go about doing that? Who do they contact?
Probably the best way would be come to me, and I can get them to, like I said, one of our clients or one of our sales reps.
Okay, great. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Lucas asked, I have a safety team with crews all across the country. The use of digital twins is great for best practices and want to use it for safety training. Training is a great use case for digital twins,
Yeah.
absolutely. Matter tags are only visible to collaborators. How many collaborators are allowed? So it just depends on the plan that you choose. But matter tags, so it depends on how you do it, right? Matter tags should be available for anybody. It depends on how public you want your digital twin. By default, when you upload all the data after scanning the location, it's private. Nobody other than collaborators and of course the admins of your Matterport account can see it. Then there's like a next level, which I believe is password protected. And then after that, you can do unlisted. Unlisted means that it is shareable, but only with whomever you want to share it with. It's not searchable by Google or anything like that. So only the folks, if you are training, that's, for example, a good use case, and not with collaborators of your account, but with people outside your organization who don't have access to the account. You can use unlisted and share that with them only. And again, still not public facing, right? But it just depends on your account, how many users can be a part of your Matterport plan, your organization's plan. It depends on the plan level.
Cruise lines and airlines have a similar use case in training. They can't take the vessel out for training, and because it's revenue producing. So yeah. KLM, as an example, in Royal Caribbean, have utilized Matterport for actual training digital twins. Exactly as you described.
That's a great use case, especially in that environment where a landed plane is just costing you money, so you can't keep them grounded. Is iframe the only way to embed? I mean, not really. It's the wrapper that we provide. When you click the embed link, that's what we provide you with, I believe. But you can use other embed techniques if you know of them. It's just putting in the source link to your Matterport model and wrap it however you want. Yes, notes. Notes are internal only. Yes. And Lucas, correct. So yeah, you can use notes. Notes are brilliant. You can just drag and drop images of anything, not just images, any PDF documents, whatever, pretty much any document you can throw in there. And it's a really, really great way of collaborating within your team. They are internal only. And so for Paul, who was wondering before about matter tags, being locked in private, notes is probably a better use case than using matter tags if you want to communicate internally. Okay, when doing a digital twin, is there a max size? I do properties and need big hotels and resorts. Example, a skyscraper of a 500 room property. I mean the outside shell. So it depends on, there is of course a size limit to what you can capture. It's not infinite. It is a 3D model. It needs to be processed, and there's no magic behind that. It's all about computing process, bandwidth. If you want to look at it online, if you want to use it for promote, or if you are just using it for insurance purposes or facility management and operations. So there is a limit. What that is kind of difficult to define. It's not so much based on the number of scan positions. It's more about the amount of stuff that you have in your 3D capture. If, for example, you have a very large 70, 100,000 square foot warehouse, just a big box, that's easy. Once you start filling it with racks and stuff, then it becomes a lot more challenging. Even if you have the same number of scan positions. It's just because of the amount of stuff and surface area that's being scanned. So, 500 rooms, are you scanning every single one of the rooms? Are they all the same room? And so you can only just scan a few as an example, and you don't need to scan the rest. The rest can just be the hallways and staircases and so on. It all just depends on the use case and what you're doing with it. but there is a limit. Unfortunately, it's really challenging to define. What I can tell you is that tomorrow I will be in a webinar with someone who has actually scanned very, very large hotels. We'll present some demos and show off some of the models that he's done and see how he's done it and all sorts of things like that. So join us for that. Maybe we can provide a link to that.
And I'll also add to that, even a 500-room hotel, it's not as big as you might think. You're probably going to scan all of your various room types, your public areas, and your meeting space. And that's not overly cumbersome at all.
Yeah, if you are just doing one of each type of room, that should be very doable. Monica, looks like you're talking about just the outside of the building. For the outside, I would recommend using a different tool. And that's probably because outdoors, you're going to be competing with the sun. The Matterport Pro 2 camera does use infrared technology to see all the little, surfaces around. And so when you are dealing with exteriors of the building, and you are doing it outdoors during daylight, you're competing with the sun, it's probably not going to work. What you need is a Leica BLK. You can easily transition between the two. So a lot of times what people will do will scan the interior with the Matterport Pro 2. It's better designed for that, much, much faster. And then as you step outside, you transition to the Leica BLK. Uses a different 3D technology, lasers, and so on. And that you can do outside. It also has longer range, so you will get to see more of the outside. With a very, very tall skyscraper, you're not going to get to see all of it. There are interesting techniques that I've heard of people doing using our SDK partners, and something like photogrammetry with drones, that they can use the drone to actually create the 3D model of the outside of the building. Bring that into an SDK partner, and the SDK partner can actually merge that with your Matterport model, so it all looks very seamless and a single model. Very cool. So there's different ways of going about that. The BLK is probably going to reach maybe 60 meters up the wall of the building. Yeah, it's going to be challenging, especially with these extremely tall buildings, if that's what you mean. All right, so that's it for questions. I hope we answered that all right, Monica. I hope I understood your question and gave you a decent answer there. Bill, any closing thoughts? I mean, if you guys don't have any more questions, we'll let you go. Anything?
My closing thought is like most companies in travel and hospitality, utilizing capture services is more turnkey. To really understand your requirements, and we'll figure out a solution, be it inside and outside cameras and so forth. But that's what we're experienced with, and we can help with that. So reach out to us, and we'd be happy to put you in touch with our capture services to have like I said, a turnkey solution.
Perfect. All right. Thank you all very, very much. Bill, huge thank you. Great information. And big thanks to Brad, Heather, and Kimmy, who helped us out with the questions in the back end. Really appreciate you all, and have a great rest of the day.
Have a great day. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye now.